following is a demonstration of Infor Visual ERP brought to you by Simplify Solutions LLC. The following is Visual's sales document lifecycle. I will use this diagram to go through the demo process, starting with the estimating and quoting process, then move over to order management. We'll talk about work orders and production functionality. We'll get into shipments, as well as invoicing and other financial features. During the demonstration, I will include several features designed by Visual that will improve your ERP experience. My Visual database is set up to open up the dashboard once I open the application. Here I'm displaying a combination of some system-generated dashboards as well as some custom dashboards, and there are some control settings inside of the window. The following is the list of system-generated analytics that are available, and the next will be the system-generated grids that are available inside of the dashboards. Going back to the sales bookings, I'm going in to look at the chart settings first, and here's an example that can be modified from the dashboard at this point in time, simply applying the changes as I go through. I can also come in and get a summary of what's being displayed, some of the numbers and the balances, or I can go even deeper and double click on the one cylinder and I can get you the detailed data that is underneath, and you can see the grid style information. Scrolling to the right, I'm going to show you all of the possible fields that are in this one example. You'll also notice that some of the fields have a small icon to the right. Those are go-to buttons, which can be used to go to the exact document inside of Visual. Now I can show you the graphical menu for Visual. Here's the display, and you can see it's broken down to multiple buckets. And I can design and structure and restructure and work with this graphical menu. I can add my own selections. I can make various drill downs for multiple selections inside of here. So here's my example of showing you the sales order drill down and setting that structure. So I'm going to go into estimating window, where I can start to show you a process flow example starting from sales or quoting. In the estimating window, you're going to be able to go in and put in your customer first. It may be one with an ID or it may be one without. I'm going to select one of my current customers that are in the database. And I'm going to move down and insert a row and add a part ID. You could also quote a non-part ID at this point in time too. I've already got a pre-selected browse that I'm going to filter this down and select it by. And now I can see the parts that I want to select. Tapping out of the part field, I'm brought to the quantities where I'll enter in 1, 10, and 100. I can actually add in quite a few more quantities if needed. Here you'll notice that the cost by is either going to be by part, quote master, engineering master, and I can save a default. I'm choosing quote master in my example. Now let's take a look at the quote master. Going to the manufacturing window, you can now see that I've got the header for the quote master. I can drill into the header and I can show you the details for the header. And you'll notice that we've got the quantity and the part ID here. Let's use the go-to button and look at part maintenance for this current part. You can see that it's a fabricated part and it currently has a engineering master against it. What I'd want to do in this example is I want to copy that engineering master. So I'm going to go back to the manufacturing window, looking at that engineering master, and you can see that it has multiple legs. So all of this structure I want to have come across to my current quote. I'm going to look at both structures in the window, and I'm going to drag and drop the master structure over to my quote master, accept the message, and you'll notice now my quote has the same build as the engineering master. I can add or modify the quote at this point in time. Next, I'm going to go back to the estimating window. And inside the estimating window, I will look at the cost based upon the structure for the 3 different quantity levels that I wanted to see. And to finish this piece off, I'll go over and I'll look at the pricing. And in the pricing, there are a couple options that I can work with, markup being part of this. But I'm going to go in here and let the recalculation from the master take place. And I'm going to override the quoted prices. Those are prices that may have come from part maintenance. And you can see the recalculation taking place, and you can see the quantity levels having an impact on the price. Save my quote. Now that my quote is saved, I want to cover a couple admin things. Let's look at the dates. You can see you have the one loss, the expires, and the follow-up date. I'm going to go through and put in a follow-up date, which allows me to go through now and show you another addition that we have in Visual, which is activity entry. And I'm going to be able to go through and put in an activity to follow up on this quote. I'll go through and put in the information needed for the activity itself, give myself some details, or give the person that I want to do the follow-up additional details in this case here, and I can identify them in the assign to. In the bottom, I'll give a little bit more detail upon what to do with the follow-up call. So there's an example of activities. I'm going to come back to the main window, and my activity did activate on time, and I can go back and look at the activity itself, just give you an example of what happens with an activity. There is also an activity maintenance where you can go through and see all of your current activities. I'm going to go back into the dates, and I'm going to just change the one lost. Now you can see that the quote has been won. And then I want to go over and show you another example. Going to the previous quote, and in this example, go through and show you the quick quote example. So here you can see that I can go in quickly and add operations or add in materials. I can also come down and do a copy from. It can either be an engineering master, a work order, or quote master. In my example, I'm showing you an example from Excel. So I physically go out and grab an Excel spreadsheet that I've already included some information that will match and build in a structure. The estimating window includes a view back to the original Excel spreadsheet. With this example, I'm going to be able to go over and show you more features, and that includes the generate a vendor RFQ from the current quote line. And the generate RFQ window comes open. I can press the button, it will generate an ID automatically for me, and you can see it populates with the open materials that need to be quoted. Back in the estimating window, I'm going to save my order, and then I'm going to move over to the next piece of the process and go into orders once again. And I can either do customer order entry or order management. And I'm going to look at order management today. Here's an example of the order management window, and I'm going to go through and select my customer for this demonstration. And you'll notice that up above shows you my orders for this customer, and you can see some of the status as well as the orders and colors representing various things. You can see that some are late, some have partial shipments, and some are waiting to be shipped and are not late. You will also notice with these modules you're able to toggle down, and I'm displaying the actual line items that are for this customer order, and it can get further information by drilling down into these lower levels. So let's type it in order. I'll choose this one that's already partially shipped, and we'll dive in deeper and take a look at the customer order entry. We'll select the first line, and one of the things you should notice on this first line is that it does have a delivery schedule.
and I have demonstrated my delivery schedule. You can see where I wanted it to take place. I've already had 5 of the units shipped for that first delivery for this order. I'm going to go back to order entry. I will reselect my order management modules, and there's now a new option that you can take a look at. Down at the bottom there is a dialog where you can look at the parts. I've selected that in one line. The part dialog includes available parts, substitute parts, and cross-selling parts. Now we can drill down into the available parts. You can see that I do have some commitments that are already aligned for the orders that I have. Expected would be open POs or open work orders. Next, I'm going to go back to the original exercise, and I want to come in and do a generate an order from a quote. And this dialog allows me to go through. I'll select my quote ID. I'll put in the customer's purchase order, work on the dates, desired ship date, a promised ship date, as well as a delivery date. I'll continue to fill in the information. I'm going to create a work order. It could either be from the quote, or it could be the next number work order. And I'll select the other copy items that come from the quote. Select the order line quantity that will be shipped. Once selected, the work order will be created, and I can set the status to release. Accept the updates, and now I have a new customer order based upon a quote. Focusing on the header information, you'll notice that I can go to the Sold To tab. I can also release the order and see other Ship To information. I have Contact tab where I can change the contact if needed. Order management information, monetary, currency, banks. I have EDI capabilities. And the other tab is where I'll go through and identify things like sales reps, sales taxes. There's credit status, credit information that I can profile and review here. And I can also do a notification. So I want email notifications in my example at the time of shipment, and I want it to go to external as well as internal people.
Visual also includes a workflow feature where you can design your process. You'll notice that up on the top, the workflow is activated on this current customer order. And I can go in and explore and review the workflow, identify exactly where I am in the process, and you can see I'm here where the yellow border is around this one task. Moving down to the line, you can notice that the scheduling date is empty. I'm going to show you a couple of tools that exist inside of the system. I'm going to come down to check schedule availability. Now we can come through and start entering some parameters. I can check for material availability, services. I can force the schedule date to be forward schedule. I can treat the release date as hard, and I can process it at this point, and I can see the schedule that will come through. Coming down and pressing the work order audit, we can review how the scheduling has gone through and processed this work order. And that comes across to the front window. More information can be seen on the line. For example, you'll notice that there's no supply. I do see the work order that's there for this. And additionally, I can see the available to promise quantity, allocated quantity, and if any of the quantity has been fulfilled. Order entry also has a check material availability dialog, and that's what I'm displaying now. You can see where the quantities are available or not available in this case. And I can go through and net the material, which brings me to the material planning window. And on the bottom row, I'm showing you the allocation. And on the left-hand side, I'm going to go up and look at the demand. And you can notice if I scroll to the right, you will be able to see the supply within inside of the material planning window. We will review the material planning window more in another example. While we're in custom order entry, I also want to cover assigning supply to the custom order line. In this example, you'll notice that we do have the work order assigned to the current custom order line, and it will be complete for the fulfillment. But I also wanted to show you that you have the opportunity to do a co-product to the line. You could do inventory to the line, could do PO delivery schedule, purchase order. You could do warehouse transfers, and of course our work order. I want to go explore the manufacturing window next. So let's open our work order. When we were in quoting, we were able to see the current graphical view earlier. And notice the header displays the current status versus M for master or Q for quote. I now can show you the different types of views that exist in the manufacturing window, starting with the text view, followed by a second graphical view, where you can see the materials are separated from the structure. And there's a second text type view with a similar option with the materials on the right-hand side. Now visual includes a grid style view, similar to looking at a spreadsheet. And you can see I've modified the colors to identify different features in the structure. The beauty of the grid format is that it's capable of exporting the structure to Excel. You can work with it offline in Excel if you prefer. Also, you can import from the Excel. Additionally, inside of the manufacturing window, there are several different views. What I like to focus on is the cost display. The view is similar to what is available in Visual Job Shop. We can identify estimated actual variances and projected cost. Hours are also included in this view, matching the structure and the cost. So, once again, you can modify the view and colors and size inside of the options menu. We'll explore more options with the manufacturing window as we go through the demo. In order entry, we were able to go through and schedule the work order. Here we can do it as well. Next, I'd like to show you some of the tools that you can do with scheduling. First, we'll just take a look at the scheduling window. The window opens with my production schedule. I can add or change the schedule. I also have the opportunity to see the shop view, and you can see my current one here, somewhat matching the work order that I have. Next, you can see that I've got capacity. For example, on engineering, I have a few levels of capacity. And in the background, they show as white blocks for where the capacity exists. Also, you'll notice that I can focus on a work order. You can see my work order is highlighted in yellow, and I can scroll across and go to see the work order compared to other production going on. Or I can come back in and focus on my specific work order itself. Next, I can navigate back to the manufacturing window, where I'll take you to another option for scheduling. Here, I'm focused on a specific operation, and I can see all of the production against that operation, and I can see where my current work order is located in the list. Having covered scheduling now allows me to transition over to our new optional modules for shop floor. Here you'll notice that you can do multiple types of transactions. Let's go and discuss scheduling a little bit further. And here you can see a list of operations, and this is also similar to looking at scheduling window where I talked about my specific shop view. I'm going to drill down into the purchasing operation and look at my work order. Same as looking at the manufacturing window, you can see where my operation was in the list. I can actually move it up using this tool or utility. I can also review other items. So on the day-to-day basis, it allows me to modify and work with this update. I can drill into review materials or labor, whatever I may need to identify, and I can get more information. I have flags to identify where things are within the process. And I can find out more information about the part as I drill down into the various options. Infor Visual includes a video library that I would highly recommend you review more of these shop floor options. Additionally, I would take a look at the new WIP functionality, which is a new feature for the visual product line. Here you're able to go deeper and put in material move requests and also have a material handlers queue allow you to determine where to move product throughout the shop floor. I'm going back into the manufacturing window and I'm going to show you the work order traveler. Here you can see my work order appears in the top portion of the window. I could also do it for multiple work orders. I'm going to go down to the bottom right hand side and select the barcodes, or it could be a QR codes. And so here's an example of the work order traveler with the codes being presented. Now I'm going to go back to the manufacturing window and we'll talk about purchasing either a service or materials. In this case, I'm going to show services. And as you can see, there is a dispatch quantity that I can enter here, or I can wait and do it manually later. And I'm going to dispatch it now. And I go to my purchase order, save it, and I want to show you the service dispatch inside of purchase order entry. I can go over to the maintenance portion of the dispatch and show you the quantities and get an idea or feel of where the materials exist. I also have a outside service planning window where I can keep a deeper view of everything that may be out at a vendor or needs to be planned. Coming back into the manufacturing window, I'm going to now use another tool, material availability window, to be able to go through and show you purchasing from a vendor. In this case, I'm going to do materials. I'm going to sort by the vendors on the right-hand side, and you'll notice I'll be able to select a specific vendor that I want. I'll select the lines, create the purchase order, save my order, and now I'm able to come over and show you receiving the materials. I can do a receive all. I can also return from this window, come down to the line and select certain receipts. But I'm going to do a receive all in my example, and it creates the new receiver ID. I can use the document lifecycle link to show you the process of where I am. The purchase order shows that it's been completed, and on the right hand side I show you the receiver, and I can even bounce back to the work order. I'm in the manufacturing window again, where I can now go in and refresh the window, and you can see the progress of the materials being received to the work order. For my next example, I'd like to go in and use the net this material inside of the manufacturing window, which would take me over to the planning window for this part. And you can see my work order shows on the left hand side for the demand. I can scroll to the right and I can see supply that exists currently out there, and one of the items that you'll notice is that we include planned orders. For more detail, I can go to the header, and this is giving me all the information for how the planning is being done from the part maintenance. I can further go in and take one of those planned orders and I can change it to a released order. Here you can work with the dialog to modify any other options that you may need to do. But once you're ready, you can press the order button and it turns the order into a purchase order. And I'm going to drive over to that. There's a go-to button for it. And here you can see my purchase order was created from the material planning window. The next option that I will demonstrate is a search. It's a larger search, and we can go through and modify several different options inside of here. It will help us focus on certain or specific items, including parts with shortages. So I'm going to show you that piece, and I can also work on the right hand side with the MRP exceptions and modify and update that, browse as needed. And you'll notice that it does filter down to 2 part IDs that I should be going off and looking at the part shortages based upon the search. While we're in the material planning window, I also want to show you the advanced mode where you can look at either forecasting or planning for more repetitive type parts. The manufacturing window has many more tools, including the right-click option where I can navigate to several areas. For example, inventory transaction entry. Just by clicking next to a material requirement, I can go through and that requirement comes up automatically. I can issue the materials directly to that operation. Next, I want to show you another option which is inside of inventory transaction entry, which would be the issue all capability. So you can select a work order and filter it down as needed. In my example, I'm showing my current work order and I'm filtering to the purchasing resource. And you can see all the materials that are here and that are required. I'm also able to do a return of materials or multiple materials using this utility. Now that we have actuals against the work order, we can go in and look at the costs once again. And here you'll notice that the actual cost, I can open that up and you can see what's actually been issued to the work order. There are other tools that I would use as well. If you go underneath the info menu, you can look at the material issues and review that dialog. Labor and services have this as well. Other functions that exist inside the manufacturing window could be split work orders or co-products. I'm going to take a couple of minutes now to talk about the costing setup. For costing, you would have to go to the accounting entity maintenance to look at the structure. Under the costing tab, you could look at costing method, and I'm in an actual database right now. You could look at partial receipts, which would be the WIP costing. You could talk about how inventory moves either by part or by location for FIFO distribution. There is AP pricing and matching, as well as how costs would move between sub-assembly level to top assembly level, whether it folds to material or keeps separate. With an accounting entity set to standard costs, labor cost basis is the main setup, either setup determined by hours worked or determined by quantity completed. Next, I'd like to take you to the shipping of the product. Let's go into shipping entry, and I'm going to go in and browse and select an order. Shipping entry includes options to ship all as well as returns. This current example was one from a delivery schedule, so I need to use the delivery schedule window to be able to do the shipment. Here's my example in the delivery schedule window. I'm going to go through, select a line. At that point in time, it populates my quantity to be shipped on that delivery line. I'm going to accept it at this point and go back to the main window, which will need to be saved. And during the save, it's going to give me some options to do with the back-ordered items. And once I finish that process, it will give me the pack list ID as well as the date shipped. I have a notification set up, and you can look at the notification that came across as well as the setup for that. And it happens at the time of shipment. And you can modify and work with these notifications based upon what you need to go through in structure. So as you can see in the header tabs, there's multiple areas in visual where you can do notifications. My next exercise, I will be doing the invoicing and emailing the invoice. This is where that information comes from. From my main menu, I'm going to go into receivables and use invoice forms. And once I'm in invoice forms, I can show you that the main settings are over here on the left-hand side. And the one that I'm going to have on today is create AR invoices. Up in the header is where I have the option to either print them all, print duplicates, or I'm going to just, in this case, print a single invoice. And you can see that it generated, and the main point of it is that it's going to be creating an email, or an email needs to be generated for that. So I'm going into the file menu, and I will choose the option of email invoices. You can see my invoice, and up on the top right hand side I'm going to choose some of the settings. And this was a manufacturing invoice, and I'm going to preview the invoice before I generate it. I'm going to flag it to be emailed, and I'm going to generate. And here you can see the email that is being sent. And once again, this comes from the setup that I've done in the notification maintenance. The invoice is a PDF attachment inside of the email, and here's a copy of it. I can drill in and you can see a little bit more of the formatting that is already done, pre-formatted in 4 examples. And I'm going to send that email. Next, we will go and take a look at the AR invoice that was created. So back in the main menu, I'm going to go into Invoice Entry. AR Invoice Entry opens, and I'm going to select the invoice that was generated. You'll notice that it's already in the list and it's been created. And here you can see some details on the line and in the header, balance and what's going to be paid or what needs to be paid by the customer. I need to post this information. So I'm going to post to the general ledger. I'll start the cycle at this point, and I can preview the batch, go into the report, and here I can see what's going to be posted, level of AR, some commission, and the sales account being hit as well. And I'll finish the posting. I'm also going to be able to drive over to the accounting window. The accounting window is the main window for looking at accounts. It is also the location for the major reports, including general journal, trial balance, general ledger, as well as your basic balance sheet and income statement. I'm going to go in and show you a little bit more of the tools that are inside of the accounting window. Let's drill down to the account so you can see a balance for the current period. When I drill down, I can see that I have some accounts receivable invoice postings that happened against this account. I can go even further and look at the batch detail for this information, and it's going to be similar to what you just noticed me post over in accounts receivable. You can see all of the accounts and all of the entries that were done in the last posting. Additionally, I can go and look at the specific posting itself and follow the account balance and information, as well as print out that information. The accounting window has a few displays, and you can see the listing of them here. I'm just going to scroll down to the year-to-date line graph as an example, so you can get a picture of things that you have. This one here is a comparison between budget and balance. The accounting window also includes an option to close and reopen periods. This allows you to manage the accounting periods. I'm going to run a test right now, and you'll notice that posting candidates include the one flag for the shipment that had taken place. I'm going to go over to costs and utilities, and this allows me to not only run the transactions that will match against the shipment, but it will actually prepare the posting structure for that. So I'm going to run the costs and utilities. You can see the output that is completed. And I'll go back to the accounting window, run the test again, and you'll notice now that the posting candidate for shipment journal has changed to 6 unposted transactions. I can go to the post-manufacturing journals, and here's where I'm able to go into the shipment journal, and I can review the posting. I'll have those 6 unposted transactions, and here you can see the value, $5,000 for the last shipment for the 5 units that I have, and I'll post them to the general ledger. This post-manufacturing journal also includes the major reports that I would go off and look at for reconciliation and balances. I'm going to come in and take a look at the gross profit report. Here you'll notice that I can run the report, multiple options, and I get an idea of my gross profit. So I had 2 shipments of 5 units for $10,000. To end our demo, I just want to summarize by using the document lifecycle graphical view, and you can notice that we began with a quote. We moved over to the order management window and filled in the sales order. We built the work order to fulfill 2 deliveries, as well as invoicing those deliveries, and I've also gone through and made a payment against them. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any further questions, please contact us at Simplify Solutions LLC.